Okay. Will you please just look at me?
Okay.
And can I have you say your name and spell it for me?
Tammy Lindgren. You want the whole name spelled out?
Mm-hmm.
TAMMYLINDGREN.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And so just starting with that, never in a million years. If I said never in a million years, how would you finish that sentence in regards to what's happening with your family right now?
Never in a million years would I dream I'd be sitting here discussing my middle baby being involved in a accident that involved drinking and driving. And the devastation it's caused for our family.
What's it been like for the last 2 years?
Terrible. Sorrow, regret, pain, missing my daughter for being where she's at, feeling sympathy for the other families that went through what they went through. They were all a bunch of kids together having a good time. They all made their decisions and didn't realize it was playing a game of Russian roulette. That's the best way I can describe that. They thought they were together to have a good time, and it was just a game of Russian roulette.
When you think about it, because we talked earlier, Lester and I, about how we've all made really stupid decisions over the course of our lives. When you think about the things that you've done, you know, I guess you and I got lucky, nobody died in any of those situations, but your daughter it didn't happen that way. How do you ever think about just that, how it was just that one time, that one thing?
That's what haunts me the most out of all of it, is all these other people that have the multiple DUIs, and the one thing they say is it'll never happen to me. You know, and my daughter, that was her first DUI. She wasn't a drinker. It can happen on your first time. And yeah, that's what goes through my head, is we've all done stupid stuff, made bad choices, and been lucky. But it only takes the one time to not be lucky anymore.
I've spoken to you before, and I know that you get really emotional when you talk about it. What about this still brings you to tears 2 years later?
Because in the public eye, they're prejudging my daughter. They've got her labeled as a murderer, somebody that maliciously went out to kill or hurt somebody. It was 4 girls having a good time. It was an accident. They all made their choices. They all drank together. They all got in that one car together. And that's what's hurting the most, is that they got my daughter labeled this vicious killer. And it's not. She's got a heart of gold. She's got to live with this the rest of her life. And that's what hurts so bad, is that she's being judged by people that don't know her and don't know what kind of heart she's got.
Does it make you sad, too, to think that she's going to spend her entire 20s in prison?
Yes, it does. She's going to lose her whole 20s in prison, living with the decisions that they made that night. She'll live the rest of her life knowing that one of her best friends was killed in that car accident. She didn't kill her. It was an accident. She couldn't hurt anybody.
And you have so much, I know that you carry a lot of guilt around. Do you sort of feel like this is your fault?
A little bit, but I don't know how to explain that. Because she was grown, she was out on her own. So I don't know if it's just mother's instinct, or what. I wasn't there. I couldn't control it. I couldn't help with the decisions they did. But I guess as a mother, you always have some kind of guilt or pain for what your child's feeling. Does it make sense to kind of feel the same emotions they're going through?
And on top of that, you know, like we think about Amanda, we think about Amber, but I don't think a lot of people think about you so much. You sit at home and live with this every day, and people look at you and judge you also. What does that feel like?
Terrible. It hurts. It hurts really bad. Like I said, one bad choice and you're labeled. People look at you and prejudge you before they get to know you. They don't give you a chance to get to know you. They just automatically assume.
I want kids to know how this affects people other than themselves. You know, Amber's not the only one going through. She's in jail, yeah, she's in prison, but you still, like I said, have to live with this. Tell me how this has affected your family. You said it's torn you guys apart. How?
It's ripped us apart. I have a 14-year-old daughter that was so close to her. She suffers every day. She's been medicated for her depression because her sister's no longer here. We wake up, my daughter's not here. We do get to go see her. It's limited. It's like a big part of our lives missing now. I mean, yes, we'll get that back someday, but it's sadness. It's just, she's not here. I can't hold her. I can't hold her when she's going through this, when thoughts are going through her head. You know, I can't be there to support her. You know, it just pain, you know.
What is Amber saying? How does she feel now?
She's tore up. She's very tore up. She's not okay. She's got to live with this. This is on her mind every day. She cries. She writes poems. She writes letters. She talks to her friend who's gone now. She still had conversations with her. It has completely destroyed Amber's life.
When you guys talk about, is she doing anything in prison already? Any kind of outreach? Like, what's she?
She's going through counseling. She's into the church programs now. She is writing poetry. She writes a lot of poetry. And the last year, it has been strictly about bad choices, drinking and driving. She's written like 25 to 30 of them now. We are getting them published, and all the proceeds are going to Mothers Against Drunk Drivers.
What do you think the future holds for your daughter? She will be, you know, her 20s, when maybe you thought she would fall in love, get married, become a mom. That's not happening.
It's not happening right now.
That's not happening.
It hopefully, by God's grace, it will when she gets out. Right now, she's going to take the time to focus on herself, reflect on the decisions she made, so when she comes out, she'll be a better person, make smarter choices. I think when she comes out, she really wants to be an advocate and continue to work so that maybe she can stop somebody else from making the same decisions that those 4 girls made that night.
I want to ask you too. Did you tell her that was a bad idea? I mean, did she know that it was not a wise decision to?
I'm sure they all did deep down inside, but they were young. They were having a good time. That's just like normal teenagers or people in their younger 20s that don't think before they react. It's all about having a good time, and then the consequences come later. I'm sure as a lot of people, you know right from wrong, but when you're in the middle of having your good time and hanging out with your friends, you don't always think of the consequences that could happen.
So tonight you're telling this story to other people who, just like your daughter, will go out this weekend looking to have a good time. What can you say to stop them? Because you said it to Amber, don't be stupid, don't drink and drive, don't be dumb, bad things can happen. How do you think that your message now to other kids is different? Why do you think it should, or how do you think it could stand out?
I hope it matters, just to show them that one bad decision affects the rest of your life. That's just it in a nutshell. One bad decision, you might die, you could hurt somebody else, you might lose your license. There's just 100 things that could happen. It'll forever affect the rest of your life.
And how do you reconcile too? This is just something that, you know, fascinates me, because you live with it every day too. You know, these 2 little kids lost their mom. Like, how do you reconcile that too? Obviously, we're thankful that Amber's okay.
That's a rough one for me. I have a lot of sympathy for the Smith family. I too have buried a child, so I know how that feels. A lot of people don't. So I know that pain. I didn't lose a child because of an accident, but I have buried a child, and the pain is the same. I just don't want anybody else to have to go through that. Any circumstances, so no one have to bury one of their children for no reason. And it just takes a lot of praying.
How are you going to heal? That's my last question for you.
Right now, I'm just, like I said, a lot of praying, counseling, support of my friends and family, knowing that my daughter's going to do something better with her life and use this to further educate somebody else. I focus on the positives that's going to come out of it instead of dwelling in all the negativity.
Do you still cry every day behind this?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. Every day.
Goes to sleep crying.
Sorry.
Why do you go to sleep crying?
Just sadness. Sadness, disappointment, regrets, wishing I could go back in time and do something to change that night. All of it just it's full of sadness all the way around.
And you weren't even the one behind the wheel.
Right. But somebody I loved was my world. That was my heart. One time is all it took to destroy her life. It's very sad.
Out of curiosity, did you think that it was leading there when when the stuff happened before, when she got the tickets for, driving without insurance?
No, honestly, my daughter was never a heavy drinker. She never drank. As a matter of fact, she was always a designated driver. She had broken up with a boyfriend because he wouldn't stop drinking. Never in a million years. That's why I think I'd ever sit here and be discussing a drinking and driving accident involving my child. She was taking care of Alzheimer's patients. She had a good life with, she had everything going for her. So no, and with the tickets, it was so many years before that, and they were just minor violations. No, never did I ever see this coming.
When do you think you'll stop crying?
I don't know. I really don't know if I ever will. Even when she's home, it's something that we still live with for the rest of our lives. You can't change what happened. You can't fix it. You can't make it better. You can't bring people back. You can't bring the time back. This is going to affect us for the rest of our life.
So look at me like I'm one of those bozo kids. I'm 22. It's the 4th of July weekend. I'm going to go do something stupid. Just one thing that you could tell me, like...
Please don't do it. Think before you... Just think. Make a smart choice. Don't say it can't happen to you, because it can. Just have a designated driver. If you're going to be drinking, take your cab. Call a friend. Call a parent. Don't take a chance. It's not worth the chance, is what I would say.
Do you wish that the girls had called you that night?
I do. I do. They were all for together. They were all for having a good time. They were all for just out joyriding. I wish one of them would have said, no, we're not getting in that car. Or one of them would have said, hey, let's call a cab, or let's call a parent, or just not leave. Let's just stay where we're at right now. Yeah.
Anything else you want to say before we move on? So much.
Is the camera off?
Almost.
Sorry.
It's okay, what is it?
It's just a hard thing to live with all the way around. It doesn't just affect the one person. That's the message. Is you don't have to be a cold-blooded killer for something terrible to happen. You don't mean to hurt somebody. And in a split second, your life is this. It's destroyed and it'll never be the same. In a split second. It's devastating, and I apologize. It hurts everybody, not just one person, not the victim. It affects everybody involved.
And you feel the need to apologize, even though it wasn't you behind the wheel?
Yes, because I'm apologizing for my daughter, who has very much so in letters, in writing, in the courtroom, apologized so many times and wishes things would have been different. I'm apologizing from the whole family and from her, because she's not a killer and she is very remorseful and has to live with this for the rest of her life.